I woke up in the middle of a forest. My phone was dead. I was starving. I had no idea where I was or how I'd gotten there. And what I didn't know then was that 12 days had passed. 12 days of police reports, search parties, and my mother crying herself to sleep every night thinking her daughter was dead. But let me start from the beginning, because this story will change not just how you think about what's possible in this world, but maybe how you see yourself too. I used to hate alien movies, even though the guys in the dorm loved that crap. What a load of bullshit, I'd think when they'd put on another stupid flick about little green men. What normal person would believe any of that garbage? What do I think now? Well, little green men are still bullshit, of course, but the beings who contacted me, who saved my life and changed me beyond recognition, those I believe in, and I'm grateful to them. My name is Lucy Morris. I'm 20 years old, and I'm studying psychology at the University of North Carolina. I live in a dorm with 2 roommates, Ashley and Kate, who love partying and think I'm way too serious. I had a simple, quiet life of a regular American college student who believed in logic, science, and rational explanations for everything, until last May, when everything I thought I knew about reality got turned upside down. My roommates dragged me to an off-campus party. "Come on, Lucy," Kate said, rolling her eyes. "One night won't kill you." The party was exactly what I expected, too loud and too crowded. Around 11 p.m., I'd had enough and told Ashley I was heading back to the dorm. The walk was only 15 minutes. I remember starting down the sidewalk, passing the 7-Eleven, checking my phone, thinking about my psychology paper, mentally organizing my thoughts for Monday's deadline. That's the last thing I remember clearly. When consciousness returned, I found myself sprawled across pine needles in woods I didn't recognize. My clothes were ripped. I was starving and dehydrated, covered in scratches. My phone was dead. Every tree, every shadow looked completely foreign. I had absolutely no clue where I was. Panic first, then survival instinct. I picked a direction and started walking. After hours of stumbling through the undergrowth, I finally heard traffic and broke through the tree line to find a highway. I was waving my arms frantically at every vehicle. After what felt like an hour, an old pickup truck finally pulled over. The driver was a middle-aged guy in a baseball cap. "Jesus, honey, what happened to you?" he asked. I climbed in, so grateful I could have cried. "I got lost in the woods," I said. "Can you take me to the nearest hospital?" "Sure thing," he said, handing me a flask. "Here, drink this. You look like you need it." The whiskey burned, but that's when I noticed him watching me with this weird smile. His hand moved to my knee. "You know, you're real pretty," he said, squeezing harder. "Maybe we could work out some kind of payment arrangement." I pushed his hand away, but he wouldn't stop. His hand moved higher, and when I tried to push him off again, he grabbed my wrist. "Come on, don't be like that." That's when pure instinct kicked in. I grabbed the door handle and threw myself out of the moving truck. I hit the asphalt hard, scraping my knees raw, but I scrambled to my feet and ran. "Crazy bitch," he yelled before driving off. That's when I saw the second miracle, an elderly woman in a small sedan pulling over. "Honey, are you hurt? Do you need help?" Mrs. Henderson was an angel. She drove straight to the county medical clinic without asking too many questions. At the clinic, when they handed me a mirror, I had absolutely no idea who I was looking at. The face staring back meant nothing to me. I couldn't remember my name, where I lived, or anything about my past. Complete amnesia. "Memory loss from trauma is normal," Dr. Zimmerman explained, but the blood tests were bizarre. My white blood cell count was off the charts, but I wasn't sick. My vitamin levels were perfect despite not eating for nearly 2 weeks. And strangest of all, my skin started peeling off in sheets like radiation burns. The microscopic analysis showed organisms in my blood that don't match any known strains in our database. That afternoon, they put out a media alert. Young woman found disoriented on Highway 52, suffering from amnesia and severe skin condition. If anyone recognizes this person, please contact. I was lying in the hospital bed when a woman burst through the door. "Oh, my sunshine!" she cried, rushing toward me with tears. "My baby, I thought you were dead." But I felt nothing. No recognition, no connection. This stranger was claiming to be my mother, and I couldn't remember her at all. The woman was trying way too hard. She kept dabbing at her eyes with tissues. "My poor baby," she kept saying. "What did they do to you out there?" I pulled my hand away instinctively. "I'm sorry, but I don't remember you at all." "The doctor said you might have amnesia," she replied quickly. "I hope you will be okay soon." Dr. Zimmerman discharged me into her care. By the time we left the clinic, it was already getting dark. Linda drove an old sedan that smelled like cigarettes and something sour. The drive took forever, winding through back roads. When we pulled up to my house, my heart sank. It was a rundown farmhouse with peeling paint and a sagging roof. Inside, a large dog came running toward me, barking and growling. Instead of recognition, the animal acted like I was a complete stranger. Hackles raised, showing teeth. "Rex, stop it," Linda yelled. "That's just because you've been gone so long." But Rex kept growling and backing away from me like I was some kind of threat. The room Linda showed me had no photos, no personal belongings, nothing that suggested a young woman had ever lived there. I was exhausted, so I decided to sleep and ask questions in the morning. That's when the nightmare really began. Exhausted, I collapsed onto the lumpy mattress, fully clothed. That's when it hit. Sleep paralysis. I couldn't move a muscle, couldn't scream. My eyes focused on a tall, shadowy figure standing right over my bed. It emitted a high-pitched, violin-like screech that somehow I understood perfectly. The message was crystal clear. "You need to run from here." Suddenly, I snapped awake, gasping. From downstairs came Linda's voice. "What? You're taking her right now?" A gruff male voice replied. "Yeah, boss said collect all the girls before morning. They sail at dawn. We're getting paid well for this." "What? You feel sorry for this trash? You don't even know her real name. Just another rich brat who snorted herself into amnesia. Bring her down here now." My blood went cold. Human trafficking. I had to get out. I crept toward the window, hands shaking. The old frame was stuck, but I forced it open with desperate strength. The glass edge sliced deep into my palm as I climbed through, blood dripping onto the windowsill. I dropped into the yard and ran. Terror drove me toward the woods. My mind kept repeating, "They're going to sell me." This wasn't my mother. This wasn't my home, and I was nothing but merchandise to them. Running through the forest felt strangely effortless. My vision was sharp in the darkness. My feet found solid ground instinctively. But my skin was still peeling off in sheets, leaving a trail behind me. When I reached the road, something impossible appeared. A sphere of crackling electricity hovered in the air, shifting through colors: emerald, violet, amber. Sparks danced around its edges, and it pulsed with a faint, haunting melody. I stood transfixed as it suddenly shot forward along the road, rising into the starry sky before vanishing. Without understanding why, I knew I should follow that direction. So I stepped onto the asphalt and started walking. I started running again, faster than I'd ever run in my life. My legs moved with an effortless rhythm I'd never experienced before. The sphere of light had stopped ahead, hovering as if waiting for me. As I approached, it glided forward again, pausing every so often like it was making sure I could keep up. We ran like this for what felt like miles, the glowing orb leading me through the darkness. Finally, we emerged into an open field. The night was pitch black, no moon visible, just stars scattered across the sky. Suddenly, I heard a sound like something slicing through the air, the sharp whistle you hear when a samurai swings his sword. I looked up and watched a massive metallic disc descend silently, landing directly in front of me. 3 figures emerged from the craft. 2 remained by the ship while the third walked toward me. This one was taller and thinner, moving with fluid, graceful steps, possibly female. All 3 wore dark gray, form-fitting suits. I stood frozen, unable to believe what I was seeing. The alien woman simply approached me and, without any warning, reached out and touched my forehead with one finger. Everything came flooding back. I remembered the blinding light on my walk back to campus. I remembered waking up in a white room surrounded by beings like these. I remembered them constantly applying some kind of salve to my skin to protect me from radiation exposure on their ship. That's why my skin was peeling now. They had injected fluids into my veins to expand my consciousness and abilities, attached devices to my head to make my brain more resilient and multifunctional. They had been upgrading me, and it had taken a very long time before they finally placed me in those woods. You needed time to adapt to your new mental capabilities, the voice explained inside my head. Now your mind is ready to comprehend everything. Now you are connected to all. Connected to what? I thought. Suddenly, I saw the universe, vast and alive and breathing. I felt like I was the cosmos itself. I could see all planets and galaxies as one living organism. Some planets appeared diseased, infected, like harmful bacteria. Near them, nothing else lived. All planets in those galaxies were dead, but other galaxies teemed with life on every single world. I watched galaxies being born and dying. The entire cosmos felt alive and so familiar that tears streamed down my face. Then I zoomed in on Earth, watching like a time-lapse film as continents shifted. I saw a piece break away from Africa, watched some land masses sink beneath the waves, while others rose from the ocean to form new islands. Continents drifted and climates changed. Some land masses became completely barren while others burst with vegetation. I realized the water was almost gone. Where vast oceans once existed, now only small seas remained. The Pacific Ocean now covered less than 1/5 of the planet. The sun blazed mercilessly. I was watching from outside, but I felt every sensation the Earth was experiencing in my own cells. I saw vast stretches of land turning black as if burned. I understood the fires were caused by the sun. The overheated star was scorching the Earth, and the planet couldn't cool itself. No oceans remained to regulate the temperature. Cities were empty, forests were ash, and the few remaining humans lived underground or in polar regions. Why do I need to know and see all this? I asked mentally. The answer came immediately. You will become a psychology professor. You will find a way to convince people that each of them is everything, and everything is each of them. The whole world exists in each person's mind. You were told that you were created in the image and likeness of the universal mind, and each person decides what happens. And how do you use this knowledge? Your planet is sick. It is dying. Look. The vision intensified. I could feel the Earth's pain like it was my own body burning. I felt the last polar bears dying in the heat. I felt the final coral reefs bleaching white. I felt the Amazon rainforest turning to dust. Every extinct species felt like a piece of my soul being torn away. What can be done? I asked, sobbing. Create instead of destroy. Unite instead of fight. Prove you are worthy of your home, or give this place to those who will value what you have. We watch, and we give you the last chance. Otherwise, we will eliminate you, as we have all those before you. Earth will be reborn, and the experiment will begin again. You are not the worst of our experiments, but lately you disappoint us. You, Lucy, and thousands of others now know. But what if people don't listen? What if I can't convince them? I tried to ask, but was interrupted. Time to return. You cannot stay this long. When the familiar field appeared before my eyes again, the 3 aliens were already boarding their craft. A minute later, the disk rose silently and disappeared into the night sky. To my surprise, I discovered that all my wounds had healed, but my head was very dizzy. Back at the clinic, everything felt too small and too loud. I felt strange looking at people hurrying somewhere with such serious faces. Dr. Zimmerman asked the same questions, and I gave the safest version. The woods, the old house, the window, the road. I gave them details about Rex, the sagging roof, the back road that curved twice. A detective wrote it all down and said softly, "You might have just saved someone else." Ashley cried when she saw me, messy crying that made my throat tighten. Kate hovered protectively. They brought me a hoodie and pretended it was normal to talk about midterms like we hadn't just ripped a hole in reality. The peeling slowed by the second day. Beneath it, my skin felt cool to the touch. At dusk, the campus pathways glowed for me, edges sharper, distances honest. I didn't trip on broken bricks or miss curbs. My body moved like it had found a draft in the air. At night, when I closed my eyes, there was a pressure that wasn't a headache. Sometimes I could feel the geometry of the dorm, as if a map unfolded behind my eyes. When Ashley whispered in the dark, I heard the fear in her throat before I parsed the words. I tried once to tell Dr. Hoffman about the white room without saying ship. I said there was light, there were procedures. He nodded and wrote down procedures, and I watched the word lose every meaning it could have had. Back in class, my notes stopped being bullet points and turned into constellations. In cognitive psychology, when Professor Ellis asked what selfhood meant, I wrote, "A membrane, not a wall." In social psych, I wrote, "Connection lowers entropy." It scared me how certain my hand was when I wrote those sentences. One evening, I drafted a proposal for the undergrad conference, Self as Field, Evidence for Distributed Cognition in Everyday Life. No aliens, no lightning or discs, just what people do when they're together. Synchronized steps, mirror posture, finish each other's sentences. If I spoke their language, maybe I could smuggle the truth inside it. Detective Ruiz called to say they'd found a property matching my description. He didn't give details, only thanked me for remembering the dog's name. "Small details crack big doors," he said. Ashley asked later if I believed in aliens now. I told her I believed in second chances. She laughed and said, "That's a yes." And I let her be right. Sometimes, if the room is quiet and my breathing is slow, I hear a thin strand of sound, like a note at the edge of hearing. It's not a warning anymore, it's a compass. When my mind starts to spiral, news headlines, drought maps, brush fires, it steadies me. I didn't wake up a prophet. I woke up with better night vision and a syllabus to finish. But every time I walk past the dorm's study lounge and see strangers sharing highlighters, or watch someone hold a door for a kid with too many books, the pressure behind my eyes eases. Create, not destroy. Unite, not fight. The words aren't mystical anymore, they're practical. Maybe that's what they meant by worthy, not heroic. Consistent. I still roll my eyes at movies with little green men. That part never changed. But when the projector light hits the dust in the air and the theater goes quiet, there's a moment where everyone inhales together, waiting for the story to begin. In that breath, the walls feel thinner. People lean forward at the same time. And for a second, it's easy to believe that each of us is everything, and everything is each of us. That belief alone won't save anything, but it's a start.